In the last tutorial, we looked at grid systems for our CSS layout of our page and pretty much decided upon using a variable grid system that we're setting up ourselves just to make it a little bit easier. Now, one of the things that I should do though is take a look at this design and you'll see that our margins are definitely larger than 10 pixels. I think our margins are more like 40 pixels or 20 pixels in between. So I'm just going to expand that out, but if I add 20 here, I need to remove 20 from my column widths. You'll notice though that that actually changes my overall content width by 20 pixels. This is why it's so important that you decide on these types of grid systems before you actually get to designing, because any change that you make really affects the entire design all at once. But this will actually work for what we're going to do. Now, we're actually not going to use all of the different columns, but if I click on preview, I should be able to see all the different widths now. We've got 230 over here, 590, with a pretty spacious area in between, which I think will be just fine. That actually matches kind of our layout here pretty well, believe it or not. And then we've got our whole page layout, our whole page width, which is 860 plus 20 pixels there plus 20 pixels there, which is a total of 900 pixels. So we're ready to start laying out this page with these different elements. Now, we're going to be doing this in our CSS, so if you're in Dreamweaver, one of the things that I love is the ability for you to click and drag or click on the different tags here at the bottom and create CSS based upon what you currently have selected. If yours is acting wonky, it might be because for some reason I had a single quote on page wrapper, and hopefully you've fixed that in your code so you don't have that problem. Anyway, I'm going to begin by clicking on the body tag and creating a CSS rule which is just for the body itself, not the paragraph, just the body. Another nice thing that I like is that you can create a style sheet when you create your selectors, and I also like to be on the compound selector. We do want to remove that paragraph though, it's acting a little strange for me right now. Anyway, I'm going to click on OK, and this is going to be called Styles CSS, and the first thing that we're going to do is give it a background color, and one of the tools I really like is the Instant Eyedropper, and you can download this online. You can find it, it just is called the Instant Eyedropper. Great tool. I have it set to HTML as the color that it adds, and once I click and drag over a color, then all I have to do is paste that color, and there you go. I have been able to assign that brown color from the original website to the background of my body very, very easily. The next thing that we're going to do, whoops, looks like I had two documents that were kind of open there because I was playing with CSS before, but that's alright, we'll fix that later. When we add this, what we have done is created just a very simple style sheet with our first body selector in it, background with the information there, and then in our source code we have created a link to our CSS style sheet. I'm going to go ahead and save that and save that as well. Now we have to click on both to save them. Don't worry about the fact that I have another styles there. I'm just going to close it, bring it back up, open. You'll see that now I only have one styles. Now, one of the things to be aware of is it saves each page separately, and if you want to save them all at one time, just do save all, or when you go to test your movie it will ask you to save your files. The next thing that we're going to do is deal with our header. So there's our page header. Now, one of the things that you'll notice in our design is that sometimes we really need to use padding instead of margins. You'll notice right here that this header kind of goes all the way across, but if I were to make this a different color, I really want it to go the entire page length, and margins aren't going to really do that for me because they're going to be inset just a little bit. So in order to demonstrate this, let's go ahead and to the page header I'm going to go ahead and give a new CSS rule which uses margins like we think. And the background is going to be close to this color, but I'm going to go and adjust that color just a little bit. Make it just a little bit lighter so we can see that it's applied there. And now what I'm going to do is go to my box, and I'm going to do the margins and padding like we thought. We thought that we would be doing 20 pixels on the right and 20 pixels on the left as our margin. So let me do OK, and let's go to the live view and actually see how that's rendering. The problem with that is that you'll notice that my background color is not going all the way to the edge. So instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the code. Instead of using margin left and right at 20 pixels, what I really want is padding left and right. And so I'm just showing that I can change this right here if I want. Now, another thing that I should point out is one of the things you should set up in your preferences in Dreamweaver is doing CSS rules with shorthand whenever possible. And you'll see how that applies when we start to play with some of these other styles here soon. Now, if I go and take a look at this, you'll notice that we didn't put anything for the top and bottom. I would suggest that we go ahead and put in some sort of value so that it's like 0, 20, 0, 20. And you'll notice now it rewrote that as shorthand for me, which is definitely a little bit easier for us to work with. Now in the live view, notice how that's going all the way to the edge. Now another thing that we totally forgot to do is actually do my page wrapper. So in the code, I'm going to go to the page wrapper. Let's make that, and let's see, my box, if I take a look at the original design here, we've got 860 plus 40 on both sides. That's a total of 900 pixels. So my page width is actually 900. So I'm going to go to make that 900, and for the padding I'm going to make it 0 everywhere, and for the margins I'm going to click off same for all, and I'm going to change my left and my right to auto. And what this does is this makes it so this particular page will float in the middle. Now, another thing that I did here is I really want page wrapper to be first. So one of the things I love about Dreamweaver is just the ability to drag my CSS around anywhere I want, and you'll see that it will actually move around the code in the CSS file. The last thing I want to demonstrate here is just testing this file. So I'm going to hit F12. You'll see that it says, oh, you haven't saved everything. So you say yes, and now you'll see what we've kind of got going on, which is the basics of this page layout. We have a lot more to do, but we'll be doing that in the next tutorial.